Had to go grab a few last things to start on the shipping. We got quite a few different items going out today. A nice variety here. We're only shipping from the one store today. If you guys know, I share an eBay store with a business partner of mine, and pretty much it's going to be everything from that store today. And I don't really have a method. We're just going to grab whatever I see, and then we'll find it on here and say what it sold for. First thing that we're shipping out, we had multiple ornaments. We actually sold $200 worth of ornaments just this weekend in our flea market booth. But we have this Grolier President's Edition. And I have talked about these multiple times. So if you ever see these out, make sure you at least check them out. Not all of them are super good. But we've sold some of these for $50, $100, even $150. So this is Rapunzel. But these are definitely worth checking out. If you ever see the Grolier President's Edition ornaments, make sure you at least give them a second glance and check out if they're worth selling. Where's the box that we had? Okay. We're just going to be using an Amazon box. These things come with the packaging inside and a foam piece, so they're already protected. So I'm just going to put some packing paper in this box, and that should be enough for it. And if you're watching, let me know where you're watching from. I always like to see where people are from, where they're watching. And this Rapunzel ornament sold for $28.99. And with all of my items, the buyer pays the shipping as well. And we have been into the profit on these for quite some time. So everything that's ornament related that we're selling at this point is all pure profit. Okay, first item down, as I said, we had that Rapunzel ornament. Some of these we'll probably save to the end because I'm going to have to do some adjustments on boxes. But let's stick with the ornament theme. We have the three fairies. Again, President's Edition Grolier. Make sure that's pushed into your mind. These are good ornaments to keep an eye out for. So Grolier President's Edition. This one is the three fairies from Sleeping Beauty. We picked all of these up at one garage sale, and I paid over $300. I think it was like $350 for all the ornaments we got, but we're far into the profit. We've already done $1,000 in profit on these things. Again, we're going with another reused box. These are already packaged up pretty nicely. They have some good protection, so we're just going to put it in there with some packing paper, and it should be good to go. If you guys would do me a favor, if you're watching, go ahead and like this video and drop a comment for me. I love answering questions on these lives. I have not been going live on YouTube a lot. Most of my lives have been done on TikTok, but I'm trying to get the watch hours up on here on YouTube. So I'm going to try to focus on YouTube a little more here lately. So if you guys would be so kind, do me a favor, like that live and drop a comment so we can have a little discussion here. Okay, so this three fairies. But we do have a good mix of stuff going out today. We actually sold quite a few Pokemon cards. Stacy Jones, what do you sell on? So all of this stuff is going out on eBay. which I forgot to mention, this ornament, the 3 fairies, actually sold for $39.99. Again, it's all pure profit at this point. We're in like the $1,000 range when it comes to total sales on these ornaments. So, but we sell on eBay, and then we sell locally in a flea market, and we also have a shop that we're trying to expand. Right now, we just have 2 cases in that shop, but hopefully we're going to be expanding this next year. Mostly video games out of there. Okay, this was the 3 fairies. I just like to write on the box what's in it. That way when I go to do all my weights and measurements, I know what's what. Pokemon stuff, you got, could you link me your eBay? Do you send to the UK? We do all of our shipping on eBay using the global shipping program. So we do ship to the UK, but it's all done through that global shipping program. And all of my links are Retro Rewinder. So you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube is all Retro Rewinder. And then my eBay is Retro Rewinder, but the eBay that we're actually shipping out of today is called Flip in Retro. So if you go and find me on those platforms, I normally have a link tree in all of them, and the link tree will show you both of those eBays that we run out of. But I will show you the Pokemon stuff that we sold today, and all of this Pokemon stuff actually came into our shop. So the next thing that we have going out, this is actually the 3rd Game Boy Advance we've sold in a week. We sell these for $64.99 on eBay. So that's what this one sold for, $64.99. We're going to wrap this thing in bubble wrap. No game is included or anything like that. It's just for the console only. But we'll get this wrapped in bubble wrap. Again, I'm sticking with the reusing of the boxes today. I had quite a few of these small boxes that I wanted to get rid of. And I just put in a shipment for some brand new boxes because I ran out of my 8x6x4, which is one of my most used sizes. So right now we're just going through and trying to reuse like those Amazon boxes that we keep here and that people save for me at my old job. So with a little packing paper on the bottom, we got that Game Boy Advance loaded in. We're going to put some packing paper around the sides and on top, do the shake test, and then it should be good to go. Okay, and when I say the shake test, it's pretty simple. Once I get it all packaged up, I just shake it. I make sure that there's nothing shifting around inside the box. So we got the Game Boy Advance. Take a hit of the water here. I think we do have one more ornament going out today. So we'll do this final ornament. Again, it is the Grolier President's Edition. These are so good. I keep saying it, but please keep that in mind. Grolier President's Edition ornaments. Some of them can sell for really good. The ones that are going out today aren't super awesome, but these are all profitable already. So we made our money on the other ones. This is Rabbit. Just trying to find it here. Actually, I do have one more going out after this. So we have Rabbit from Winnie the Pooh. This one sold for $13.49. So $13.49 with the spinning wheel there. Rabbit from Winnie the Pooh. We sold a ton of these in our flea market booth. All of the ones that we sold in the flea market booth weren't really, they didn't have great sell-through rate. There wasn't a big like demand for them, and the prices weren't great. So I just posted all of those for $5, threw them on the box, put them in the flea market booth, and I think we sold all of them. So, and again, the thing I like about these is they're already, actually, Does this one? Oh, I forgot to put the foam back in on that one. I was like, why is that one moving around? You definitely want to put the foam in there. It'll protect it from shifting around. Then we'll do the paper on the bottom and then around the sides as well. Again, now it's around all of the edges, just to put some on top, and then it'll be good to seal up. Before we tape it up, we're going to do that shake test. Perfect, it's not shifting around in the box. This was the rabbit Christmas ornament, so I'll just write that on the box. And we will move on to the next one. These Pokemon cards, we're going to save those for the end just because they're so easy. We'll actually do those right before we have some big packages going out. Let's see. Let's go with the toy. This actually came from the shop as well. This person had a bunch of toys in their trunk, and we bought a whole lot of them. Most of them weren't great, a lot of parts and pieces, but this is from a line called Skeleton Warriors, and he was complete. So we've got all of his, or I think he was mostly complete. I think he was missing like a couple gold pieces from 1994, but in good condition. So we sold this guy. His name is Oracula. Find him here. We had a lot of orders going out. So, okay, so he sold for 20 bucks. And again, the buyer always pays the shipping with my listings. I do not offer free shipping. And I'm just going to keep him in this bag with all his pieces. That way nothing accidentally gets lost inside the box. So we've got Oracula that sold for 20 bucks. Little paper. Then I'm just going to put a layer of bubble wrap. Like so. Then we're going to sit this Oracula bag right on top. And then again, put that bubble wrap around it, fill in the rest with packing paper, and seal it up. I used to be very frugal with my shipping supplies, and I would try to use like old newspapers or shredded up pieces of paper that I got for free. But I have found that the packing paper, even though it is an additional business expense, it just makes the shipping process so much easier. So for me, I feel like it's better just to buy the packing paper. I get it on the big rolls and it hangs up there, and it just makes these boxes, to me, look so much more professional once they're all packaged up. Okay, so we have Oracula. And we are moving right along. We're going to have to make a couple boxes. Not make them, just fold them. I use 2 boxes more than any other box. And one of them is this one, which I believe is a 10 by 8 by 6. And then I use an 8 by 6 by 4. So those are the 2 boxes that I use more than anything. So this is the 10 by 8 by 6. And we sold a lunchbox. It is a space-themed metal lunchbox. When we bought this from a garage sale, there was actually a bunch of Boy Scout stuff in this. And we sold the, there was a compass that we sold. I don't remember if we sold any of the other stuff yet, but the compass sold, and there was a couple silver rings in there as well that were Boy Scouts. And this is actually like an almost perfect fit with this box. And this lunchbox sold for $42. So $42, buyer paid the shipping. Get a little paper in the bottom. And I'm going to do a couple layers of bubble wrap. Not that this metal lunchbox is going to get damaged or anything, but it'll just look a little more professional inside of there. Like so. Then we'll get some paper all around the edges and top, and it'll be good. Okay, now that this box is all sealed up, do the shake test. Nothing's moving. Perfect. Let's do another one of these boxes. We have another toy going out. Anybody have any good weekends of selling stuff? We had almost 40 items to go out today. Okay, so our next item that we're going to ship out here is this Mego Bo Duke. We got a lot of 6 different Mego figures. I think it was 6, maybe 7, from a friend of ours that pretty much just deals with clothing. He came across this at an estate sale for super cheap. He offered it to us. I think we ended up paying like somewhere around $150 for all 7 figures. And we've already sold one that put us pretty close back to the profit. And with this one, we're definitely into the profit. And it sold for $40.49. So $40.49. The eBay barn cat wanted inside, so I had to go let him in. Little paper at the bottom. We're going to wrap this figure up with some bubble wrap. Mego, M-E-G-O, is a great brand of toys to look out for in your reselling journey. We have sold some of them loose for pretty good money as well. I think the best ones that we have actually had is the Kiss figures. We had a couple of those and they actually sold really well for us. Paper on top of here and it'll be good to go. Nothing shifting around inside the box. And another item down. We got one more thing that's going to go in the 10x8x6 box. And I'm not going to open these ones up, but it is on par with the other things that we are selling. We have 2 ornaments. This is Lilo and Stitch. Again, President's Edition Grolier. Get it into your brain. You want to sell these. Grolier, President's Edition. I listed these as a pair. Each one individually was okay, but I think they did better as a pair. And I figured I could sell them easier. And they sold for $24.99 for the pair. Fingers weren't wanting to work very well. It's a little cold in the barn. Appreciate you guys watching today. I've been trying to build up those watch hours on here. And I don't know if you guys know about the monetization process with YouTube, but I do really well with my reels and my shorts, but it's really hard to get monetized on those. You have to have like 10 million views in 90 days, which is pretty tough. So this is Lilo and Stitch. So I do appreciate you guys sticking around and watching with me today. Okay, so we got one more figure. Okay, we'll go ahead and move to these. These are going to be kind of a pain to ship because the only boxes that I had for these were these, and they're definitely bigger than I need. So we're going to have to cut the next 3 orders. We're going to have to cut these boxes down to size. They're just too big. But unfortunately, that's all I have at the moment. This next figure wouldn't quite fit in the 10x8x6. So the next thing that we have going out here is this sealed shredder figure. Looks like there's a sticker made it to the back of that. So we have this shredder figure. Again, how big this box is just kind of crazy. So we're going to cut this down quite a bit. We are going to bubble wrap this guy up first. And while we're bubble wrapping that up, we'll look and see what I sold it for because I can't remember. It's Shredder. Okay, Shredder sold for $74.99. $74.99. So we're going to do bubble wrap horizontally on this, and then we'll go back over with a vertical wrap as well. Like I said, we're definitely going to have to cut this box down by quite a bit. And the way I do that is I just find a spot where I want it to be height-wise on a corner, and then I slice up that corner, and then once I do that, I'll show you how I go about the rest. So we're going to go from here. So as you can see, I sliced up that corner. And then what I do is I go to where I made my mark, and I'm going to cut horizontally across the whole outside of the box. And as I'm doing that, then I cut down every corner as well. Then eventually you'll go around and you'll have all four corners cut. And it will look like this. So as you see, we have all of the corners cut. And now we're just going to do our folds on those cuts that go across. And this box is pretty thick, so I may have to go over these slightly again. Yeah, it's a pretty thick box. And it'll start to look like so. Okay. Now you can see it is a much shorter box. And we have excess cardboard. So I'm just going to cut some of this cardboard off because we don't need this much. Then we'll have some sheets like this. And I actually do use these for something else. So I save those. If I just had the right size box, this would go so much faster. But you have to make do with what you have. Okay, all cut down. We're going to add some packing paper. Get that figure back in the box. And this shredder is good to go. And now that giant box ends up looking like that. The bad thing is I have 2 more packages that we're going to have to do the same thing for. So it does extend my shipping time a little bit when I have to alter these boxes, but it's just part of it. And what I recommend you do, if you ever have to alter boxes like this, you end up getting these kind of like sharp edges where you had to make those cuts. I put tape on all of those just to hold it down a little bit extra. Alicia, how you doing? Good morning. It is morning. Actually, what time is it here? I don't even know. It is afternoon. It's 1 o'clock here. So good afternoon. I had no idea what time it was. Where are you watching from, Alicia? Okay, let's get that tape down. Again, you just kind of get these like weird sharp edges when you have to cut these boxes down like that. So I just make sure that I put a layer of tape on it. Makes it a little less inducive to cardboard cuts. And done. This was Shredder. So now we're going to start that process all over again. I do have retro stuff. We're actually going to be shipping out some Pokemon cards in just here in a minute. I am an opportunistic reseller, so I will sell anything that I think I can make some money on. My primary focus is video games and toys, but I also do clothing. I do Pokemon cards, very little antiques. I don't do a whole lot of that. Sometimes we do silver, sometimes we do gold. I've sold perfume. Yeah, so anything that we think we can make some money on. The next two items that are going to be going out are actually fake coin sets. And we partner, and I say we, even though it's just me here, but I have a business partner. And we partner with a gold and a silver shop. Okay, so again, we're going to have to cut this box down. I don't sell a lot of art. I don't know if I've ever even sold like a painting. It kind of makes me nervous to ship something like that. I have done like pottery. I've done like Roseville pottery and some stuff like that. But I've never sold like paintings or anything like that. Okay, let's set this box to the side for a second so I can show you what we're sending out here. These came from the I think it's Bradford. Yeah, Bradford Exchange. So these were actually brought into the gold and silver shop. And our business partner, Adam, who owns the shop, pretty much just deals in silver and gold. And these are coins that look silver, but it's not actually silver. They're silver plated. So basically when you have something that's silver plated, it's a different metal, normally a stainless steel or copper. And then they put that silver on top, and it's just such a very small layer of silver. It adds no value really. You would have to have a truckload of silver plated stuff to actually make money on the silver content. But some of these did sell okay. So basically these walked into the shop. Adam bought all the silver off this person, and they were left with, I think, like maybe a dozen of these little coin sets. And he sold them to us for $50, I think is what we paid. So this is the D-Day 75th anniversary coins. They come in this nice wooden case. So we sold these guys for, and again, we paid $50 for everything. And these sold for $49.99. So we're almost in the profit. Not quite when you factor in the fees and everything, but we're pretty close. But we sold another one. So we actually are in the profit. And I did not have a good size box for these. So again, we're going to be using one of these giant boxes. And it's not giant, but it is giant when you compare to what's going to be going in it. So we're going to cut this box down to size just like we did the other one. Old native pottery. I haven't sold any old native pottery. We have sold some. We sold some like Navajo blankets before. I actually have, maybe not. I thought I had like a turquoise piece of jewelry, but we have sold some of the jewelry, but I don't think I've actually sold any like native pottery. So we're going to cut up these corners again, because this box is way too tall. So we are going to make this a much smaller box. So it'll be much better for the item that we're shipping out. And we actually do have 2 of these coin sets. Yeah, they do look pretty real. I'll show you another one I have somewhere around here. Somewhere we've got like fake, they're Morgan dollars. All of my eBay is Retro Rewinder or Flippin' Retro. I thought that I have it in my profile. I have a link tree, but if you can't find it, go to my Instagram, which is just Retro Rewinder, one word. You'll be able to see my link tree. I have links to both of my eBay stores. All of my social media is on there as well. But my link tree is Retro Rewinder. It should have all of those links for eBay. Again, we're just cutting this box down a little bit. It's just too big for what I'm shipping out. Okay, so we're going to be taking this box. We're going to fold down those edges like we did on the last one, maybe. As you can see how much of that box we're actually going to be taking off here. I like to go through and I just fold all of these tabs back. So then it looks like something like that. And then on every one of these tabs, there's another fold. I cut at those folds. And then I just cut these pieces off, and I actually use these pieces. So I just set them to the side. And I actually use those pieces for something that I'm getting ready to ship out here in just a few minutes. Okay, so let's get this bubble wrapped. Nothing too crazy on the bubble wrap. We will add just a little bit of packing paper to the bottom as well. Like so. Then we'll get packing paper around the edges and top, and it'll be good to seal up. Do you by chance sell Game Boy games or Wii? We do. We actually, our video games is our primary thing we sell. We sell most of that stuff locally in our booth or in our store, but once it sits for a while, we do move it to online as well. We actually just shipped out, one of these boxes that we shipped this morning was a Game Boy Advance. Okay, now that that coin set is in the box, again, that size box is much better for what we actually needed it for than that giant one we had. Thank you, I appreciate it. I have been doing shipping for over 10 years when it comes to reselling. So I have had lots of practice. I have also been doing trades on YouTube for about the same amount of time. And I was always told that probably I went a little too heavy on the packaging, but I always wanted stuff to be safe, like this. You give it a shake, there's nothing shifting around in there. That's the way I think that it should be done. So that's the way I've always done it. I go a little heavier with the tape. I go a little heavier with the packing materials, just to make sure that everything is as protected as well as it can be. Like I said with that last box, I do go through when I make cuts like this. and I tape it down on these edges, because this is kind of a weird thing. It can kind of give you a little bit of a cardboard cut. So just to protect the people at the post office a little bit, I add a piece of tape to that to make it a little more smooth. Plus, it just kind of holds everything together a little better. Okay, so this was the D-Day coins. Oh, it's all going down. Oh no, I just spilled all kinds of shit. Well, that's not good. Spilled my water. Got ice everywhere. We're going to have to take a brief second to go and get some more paper towel. I don't think I have more out here. So bear with me for a second. I got to clean this stuff up. Okay, I had to run inside the house and get some more paper towel. Get some of this soaked up here. So Alicia said, does it feel like a job or do you enjoy what you do? I very much enjoy what I do. Some days it can feel a little more like a job than others. Especially when I'm doing like listing. The listing process is definitely not my favorite thing to do. But that's kind of the way it is for most resellers, I feel like. We'd rather go find the stuff than actually sell it. But even when it's not my favorite thing to do, I get to do it at my own pace. I get to do it when I want. If I don't want to list, I just don't list. I can go source anytime that I want to. I'm going to slide this camera over. That was very unfortunate. I'm going to have to check some of the stuff that we're going to be shipping out. Move this over. Just an empty box. Because I had the Pokemon cards that are getting ready to ship out sitting there, but I have them in sleeves, so I'm hoping that it didn't affect anything. But I am going to have to go through and check those. Yes, that's what I get for packing or stacking up the boxes next to me. Move everything over that I can. I'm thirsty too. Good thing is I don't think I damaged anything. We are going to, like I said, go through and look at these Pokemon cards just to be extra sure. I think we're safe on it though. Just had to use some paper towel here. pull some stuff out here. Sorry, I'm not super paying attention, trying to get this stuff cleaned up. I like retro stuff as well. I got a few consoles I collected. Do you all buy used consoles? Yep, we buy used consoles as well. Basically, if it's video game related and it's Nintendo or newer, we pretty much buy it. It is on the Never-Ending Story. It's one of my favorite childhood movies from when I was a kid. Okay, so we've got this one more coin set that we're going to go ahead and box up. Again, when the water spilled, it did get on there a little bit, but it's all good. Okay, so this next coin set sold for better than the other one. Again, this is not real silver. This is actually 24 karat gold plated. So again, it's not a whole lot of gold. Gold plated stuff doesn't add much value, but it is Star Trek coins. So it's 24 karat plated. That is a very key distinction that you need to know when buying anything gold or silver. Plated is typically not good. But this set sold for $103.49. And again, just like we did with the other one, this box is way too big, so we're going to cut this down to size. Once all four corners are cut, I can go ahead and fold these. Again, we're just trying to make this box not quite as tall. So it'll look like so. So I have all those four corners cut. And then as I said with the last one, all of these bend right here. We're going to cut those off. And we'll use these at a later point. Okay, let's get this item bubble wrapped. That way we can put it in the box. Okay, so that coin set is now bubble wrapped. and much better. So that box is now cut down for those coins. And I think that was the last bigger item that we have. So now we're going to be moving on to the Pokemon cards. My favorite console of all time. I probably would say I have a couple different answers for that. One of them would definitely have to be the GameCube for me. And that is because that is the console that actually speared my love for collecting. When I got my GameCube, I got a copy of the Zelda Collector's Edition, which came with Zelda 1, Zelda 2, Ocarina, and Majora's Mask. And that is kind of what speared my love for collecting older stuff. Because at the time, Wind Waker was out, and I was playing games all the way back to the NES era, which I used to play games back in that era, but I never thought really about going back and playing them until I started playing the old Zeldas. And I really liked them, especially Ocarina. And that is what sealed my love for the retro stuff and why I wanted to get all the games that I used to play as a kid. And then I shortly after that ended up purchasing a friend of mine, his Sega Genesis when we were kids. So, but for multiplayer, I love the Nintendo 64. I think it's probably one of the best multiplayer systems of all time. So it'd probably be the Nintendo 64 or the GameCube. I think that would probably be two of my favorites. I do think the Super Nintendo holds up extremely well today with the way the graphics worked back then. The games still look great when you play them today. Okay, so this was a Star Trek coin. Okay, moving on to the last things that we have to ship out. So now what we have, I'm going to move this back a little bit. We've got Pokemon cards to ship out. And all of these Pokemon cards came from our shop. Somebody walked in with them. They sold us a Super Nintendo complete in box, 3 random Dreamcast games, a couple GameCube games that were all scratched that we're going to have to get resurfaced. They actually sold some Def Leppard autographs. Our shop is very unique where we buy way more than what like a typical video game store would do, because we do video games, we do toys, we do autographs, we do sports stuff. So it's very much more of a resale shop, not a video game shop. So they also brought in Pokemon cards. So we bought all of their Pokemon cards, went through them, sorted them into what was worth selling online. And then the rest of them we do in these little mystery packs that we put in our flea market. So all of the ones that we listed were just the ones that were worth selling online. Okay, so let me pull these up. Some of these are going to be shipped a little differently than others. And I'm actually going to grab some penny sleeves real quick. Actually, instead of penny sleeves, we'll put them in here. When I was listing these, the only sleeves that I had at the time, because we were listing at the shop, were the sleeves that they came in, and some of them were just not that great. I pull them out when I do the pictures, but we're just going to put new sleeves on all of these. So we're just going to go with the ones that we have first, which is okay. And again, I did spill my water, so we're going to pull all of these out. Make sure no water got on these. Okay, the first thing that we have here is this Umbreon. It is the Japanese. It's a first edition from Unseen Forces. This bad boy sold for $199.99, so $200. We're going to put this in a new sleeve. Okay, so it's in a nice new sleeve. Yeah, this one was a very much surprise. We did not look through all the Pokemon cards. We basically asked this person, what would you want to sell everything for? They gave us a price. We were pretty close to that just from a glance. And we didn't really look through the Pokemon cards. We kind of did. We saw a couple of ones that were all right, but the condition was pretty bad. This one was actually in pretty decent condition. Nothing was really mint except there was 3 cards that we haven't sold yet. They were still sealed in like a little plastic bag. But all these other ones were either anywhere from light played to moderately played, and there was a couple that were damaged as well. So again, I'm just making sure that there is no water on the top loader here. This one's good. So the way I like to do my Pokemon cards is once I get it in a sleeve, I take the part of the sleeve that is open and I flip it upside down within the top loader. So like so. So the top is here, and then the actual penny sleeve or the sleeve is there. That way, if for some reason it were to come out of the sleeve, it's not going to come out of the top loader. Now, since this one sold for $200, I'm going to throw this in a box. Normally, I would put some cardboard around it and put it in one of these, but for $200, I just want to make sure that we protect this thing as good as we can and it's not going to get lost in the mail. So I'm going to grab a small box real quick and then we'll get this boxed up. I forgot to grab one. Okay, I went ahead and grabbed 2 boxes because there was another one that we sold for a pretty good price as well. These have been sitting on a shelf in my barn for a long time, so they're a little dusty because I don't use these boxes too often. They're pretty small. And it's just a golf ball box. I have a family member that owns a golf course and he saves the boxes for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some bubble wrap around this guy. 1 sheet should do. Again, going a little bit above and beyond for what I would normally ship these out with, but because it's such an expensive card, I want to make sure it stays safe. And then we're going to put a little bit of packing paper in here as well. And like so, it's all boxed up. The one thing that I don't like about these golf ball boxes is I have to tape around every edge because the way the box is, I mean, I just need to tape around all of it. just about done. Okay, that one's good. So that Umbreon was 200. Or Sylveon, I don't remember what it was at this point. I think it was Umbreon. No, it was Espeon. So that Espeon was 200. Our next Pokemon card going out. Again, this, want to make sure we did not get any liquid on the card at all. Which it looks good to me. We have Delta Species Mewtwo. This one was in light played condition. And we're going to put this in a new sleeve. There was some water droplets on the outside of this top loader, so I just want to make sure that there's no moisture inside. Okay, we should be good there. Again, I like to load these upside down. And this one sold for $99.99, so $100 on the Delta Species Mewtwo. Again, we're going to ship this one out in the box. I think it's the best way to do that. Take the one sheet of bubble wrap. And another one down. Again, this was Delta Species Mewtwo. A couple years ago, we had a local person on Facebook Marketplace post a Pokemon collection. And it didn't really say what was in the collection. They just had like a picture of a binder. So we reached out to them and, asked some questions about what they had. And they basically told us that they were selling the entire collection for $600 and that there was one card in the collection worth $600. Now, this was kind of hard to believe because we get people telling us all the time that they have every game console ever made. But then you ask them about like TurboGrafx and they've never heard of it, or they have every game for the Super Nintendo, and then you find their collection and there's 20 games. It's like you do realize there's like 600 games, or so we counter stuff like that all the time. So we didn't really take it realistically that there was a $600 card. So we asked what the card was. They told us. We did some research, and sure enough, it was a $600 card. If you guys are familiar with Pokemon, it was a Moonbreon. So it's an Umbreon with like this moon design. So we got it graded and it came back a PSA 10 and we sold that card for $1,000. So we bought a whole collection, had multiple $100, $200 cards. And then we had the one that we sold for $1,000. So there is deals out on Facebook Marketplace if you're vigilant. Okay, so there's Mewtwo. So the next thing we have is Lieutenant Surge's Raichu. And we had 2 of these, and they're not that different condition-wise. So I'm going to have to figure out which one's which. There wasn't great markings on these. So I'm going to have to look at the back, the pictures of the back of the card. That's normally how I can tell and find wherever the wear is at. Yeah, this is going to be tough because it honestly doesn't even look like there's anything wrong with it. Let me pull up the other one. So one sold and one didn't. Maybe both of these sold. Okay, both of these did sell. Okay. To me, these look exactly the same. So I guess one person's just going to get one and one's going to get the other. I'll make sure I pull these out and take a look, but to me, they look exactly the same. So this is Lieutenant Surge's Raichu. And again, we had 2 of these. They both sold for 20 bucks each. Alicia, I do not go live on here very often. I do go live on TikTok, but I'm trying to get my YouTube watch hours up. So that's why I'm not really live on YouTube very often. The goal will be to go live on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all at the same time. I just don't have the internet capability out in the eBay barn to do that yet. So my goal is to go more live on YouTube, hoping to get those watch hours up. I do post videos as well. So if you guys go and watch, okay, so there, oh no, that wasn't anything. So it looks like there is one little flaw, a little crinkle almost in one of these. So if you would like to help me out a ton, if you go watch any of my full-length videos, so basically full length is 3 minutes or longer. If you guys would go watch any of those, that would be a huge help because those watch hours really do help out a lot. Okay, where is the little crinkle? It is so hard to see. See if you guys can see it on there. So there's like right here, just a little bit of a crease almost. So I'm trying to see if I can see it in the pictures. Honestly, I don't. I sold both of these as lightly played. Okay, I cannot see it on the pictures, so we're just going to ship one to one and one to the other. I'll tune in when I can have a gift of happiness. It was cool. Yeah, hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me, Alicia. I really appreciate that. Again, feel free to follow me on all social media. On Instagram and Facebook, I do post pictures and random thoughts that I don't post on the other ones. I pretty much just stick for YouTube and TikTok. I just do videos on there. They are the same videos for the most part on all the platforms. But if you want to see like my pickups that are picture based, or sometimes I do like questions to the community, all of those would be on Instagram or Facebook. And that's everything's Retro Rewinder. So, okay, so we're going to put these. Wait, maybe I did find a mark. These are so hard to find the little mark on here. So don't see it on that one. I did find like a little mark on the front of one of, there it is. Okay. One of these is going to somebody named Alejandro. So this one goes to Alejandro. Now, since these only sold for 20, I do not need to box them up. These are actually going, I sold these in the standard envelope. So I'm just going to set that to the side. So that is Alejandro. The standard envelope can be a little tricky. I'm not a huge fan of the way the post office makes you go about doing it. But it is nice that the buyer only has to pay like $1.30 to ship stuff like that. Okay, let's move on. We have Jasmine's Raichu. We had 2 of these as well, so I'm going to have to try to see if one of these is a little different. Okay, so we have Jasmine's Raichu, again, a Japanese card. So we have 2 of them. Only one of these sold, I believe. So let's see if I can find a distinguishing mark on here. Okay, there is a little. Of course, I don't see the mark on either one. Guess moving forward, if I'm going to list 2 of the same card, I should probably have some way to identify which one's which. Lamantria, hey, how you doing? Thank you so much. I love this shirt. I actually have a new order coming in. I get these shirts from a place called Once Upon a Tea. I've got some pretty fun ones coming in, so I'm hoping to get those in the next week or so. Because this one is starting to get a little faded because I wear it all the time. But I do love the Never Ending Story artwork. I'm just finishing up some shipping today. And I sold one of these 2 cards. And I'm trying to figure out which one sold and which one is still listed. There's a small mark right on the edge here. So I'm trying to find the mark in the listing. But I'm not seeing it. Okay, so that one of these has a corner. Okay, so this is definitely the one that's sold. Lamantria, you just got to go on and order your own. It's super affordable. Well, I think they're affordable. I'm a pretty big guy, so I'm 6'4", and the reason that I like to go to Once Upon a Tea is they carry sizes all the way up to like 4XL tall or something like that. So I get the extra large tall shirts. So it's just Once Upon a Tea, and if you go to any of my links on my link tree, I think I have it listed on YouTube, but you can go to my link and you can find it as well. And they have pretty good deals. Like every week they'll have a new shirt of the week. But yeah, Once Upon a Tee, give it a shot. One of my favorite websites for clothing, especially for tall people. Okay, so what did this guy sell for? I think this is another standard envelope one. It is. So when they sell for less than 20, I sell them with the standard envelope. So that'll go that way. And I don't have the envelopes out here, so they're inside. Okay, so a lot of these are actually going out standard envelope. Okay, so here we have this is a Japanese Typhlosion, I think is how you say it. I am not an expert in Pokemon or anything, but I think it's Typhlosion. He sold for 20 bucks as well, so he'll be going out standard envelope. Which in my opinion is actually, for me, it's a little harder to ship because I have bubble mailers that are perfect size for these cards that aren't going out. And when you ship things through the standard envelope, you have to be careful on how thick it is. When you send them Ground Advantage, you can pretty much send them however you want. Okay, so the next one, this one will go... Okay. This was a pretty good card, and unfortunately, it wasn't in the greatest shape. And for those of you that came in a little later, these all came into my shop. So we bought these. Somebody brought in Pokemon cards and video games and actually some autographed Def Leppard stuff. So this came into the shop. This is a Dark Dragonite. The person actually had two of them. This one was in better shape than the other one. And I think we listed this one still in like moderately played condition. But it sold for $49.99. And since it's more than $20, it cannot go standard envelope. So the way I like to do these is, again, I put them in a sleeve like so. We turn that sleeve upside down and we put it into a top loader. Once it's in a top loader, I take cardboard from the shipping that we were doing earlier, and I'm going to cut this down to where it's going to be, the cardboard is going to fit around it perfectly. I think we got a comment here. I commented on the Sky Dancer toys the other day and apologize. You were right about the recall. I just remember them talking about all the fires. Hey, no worries. The only reason I commented back like that is because I literally did the research right before I posted the video. Basically, for you guys that are watching, I posted a video of the Sky Dancer toys, which was back in the day, they'd sit on this like this machine basically, and you'd pull a string, and it was like a fairy that would shoot up in the air. Well, they actually recalled the toy because there was like 150 injuries reported, and they ranged from mild concussion to scratched cornea to somebody had a broken rib. So I just made like a fun little skit about it. And I guess that there, some people, I guess back in the day also believed or heard that the reason that they recalled them is because a lot of the toys, it was hard to control their flight pattern and they were going into fireplaces. So okay, again, I'm just trying to get this cardboard to be about the right size. Okay, so now I have two pieces of cardboard. Now what I do is I just sandwich that in between the two pieces. And I'm just ensuring that this is not going to bend in shipping. So that extra cardboard on top of also having the top loader will keep this thing from bending. So it'll look like so. And then I put it directly into one of these bubble mailers. These are like the perfect size for cards. Yeah, my wife was so excited, Lamantria, when I brought that home. So if you don't know, you can't sell them on eBay. Anytime that a toy is recalled, they do not allow that toy to be sold anymore, even if it's just used for collectors. So I was trying to figure out like ways to get rid of it, and my wife was like super excited when I brought it home because she remembered having it. So, and now my daughters have confiscated it, and I got to figure out how to sell it and to where they won't know that I'm selling it too. Or I'm going to have to buy my business partner out of 50% of it because he owns 50% of it. Cool. And there we go. Dark Dragonite packaged up, ready to go. Okay, so we already did that one. Am I missing a card? Feel like I am missing a card somewhere. Where are you at? Oh, there it is. Okay, so the next thing that we have going out is a Dark Blastoise. Not in the greatest condition. I think we listed it as we did heavily played. So this sold for $39.99. So even in rough shape, some of these can sell for pretty good. So $39.99. If this would have been in really nice shape, it would have sold for way better. Especially if it's like gradable. You know, if you feel like you can get a 9 or a 10 on it, like an older vintage card, you're going to do really well with it. I'm going to grab, so earlier I spilled some water and it got on some of the top loaders. So I'm going to have to grab a new top loader. So like I said, once I get it in the sleeve, I like to put it upside down to where even if it comes out, it's not going to come out of the top loader. We're again going to cut a couple pieces of cardboard to sandwich in between. Pinstripe says that they were fun toys. I remember them having booths in the mall selling them. They were so good at controlling them. They would send them up to the second story of the mall and then bring them back down. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so if you get a chance, watch my little skit. I basically say that like who is going to get hurt by these things, and then I get hurt by it. And then basically saying if you get hurt by a children's toy made for preteen girls, you just shouldn't tell anybody. That's just embarrassing. Don't do it. Okay, so we've got the 2 pieces of cardboard. Again, I just sandwich it in between. This just gives it a little bit of extra protection. You cannot do this with the standard envelope. It's too thick and they'll send it back to your house. I was even trying to just put them in a top loader and send them in one of these, and they kept getting sent back to me. So if you're using this eBay standard envelope, you got to be really careful. But with this Dark Blastoise, we've got it packaged in between the cardboard. It's also in the top loader. Now it'll go into this bubble mailer. And while you guys are thinking of it, I'm pretty bad at asking people to do this because I always forget. But if you could do me a favor and like the video, that would be a huge help. Okay, so this was Dark Blastoise. Let me see what we got here. Yeah, if you get hurt by a girl's toy that's meant for like preteen girls, just don't tell anybody. And it said that somebody got a broken rib and mild concussion. You had to have been like looking straight down at this thing for it to hit you that hard to break bones. I just don't get it. I can kind of get the scratched cornea, the way those wings spin if you went to grab it and it hit you just right. But come on, mild concussion, that's ridiculous. Okay, let's move on. We've got a couple more cards. This is going to be another one for the eBay standard envelope. Another card in not very good shape, but this is Sabrina's Alakazam. Sabrina's Alakazam. This one was also sold in, I'm hoping we did heavily played because it's, yeah, heavily played, especially on that bottom side. But this is going in the standard envelope. So we're just going to put it in a sleeve into the top loader, and then we'll put it to the side. The like is done. You should get a moderator for when you do live streams like this to remind people. Yeah, I'm just still kind of new to the live game. I used to do, I've been doing lives on TikTok for a few months, and I still consider myself a novice over there. I've just always been not a live person. I've always done just reels or full-length YouTube videos, so I'm still kind of getting used to the live thing. But that's a great tip for getting a moderator. Okay, again, setting that to the side. That one sold for $17.99. And the last card going out today, again, we had a lot going with the standard envelope. So this is a Vileplume. So what's unique about this one is Vileplume came from the Jungle set. And for those of you that don't know Pokemon very well, every card comes from a set, obviously. And those sets are known by these symbols. I couldn't tell you what this set is without looking it up. But all of these cards will have a set symbol. What's unique about this one is it does not have a set symbol. So this was an error card, and I actually had two of these. There's a fly. It's starting to get cold around here, so the flies from outside are trying to work their way in. But this one does not have the jungle set symbol, so it's technically an error card. They made a lot of these, but it is worth a little more than the ones that actually have the symbol. Lamantry, I appreciate that. I don't always feel like a natural, especially when I'm stumbling over my words. But yeah, when I do the TikTok lives, I always forget to tell people, one, to like the video, and two, if you're not followed already, please give me a follow. I don't know how that works here on YouTube, but like when you do on TikTok, it'll actually say like they just followed you or they just subscribed. So typically I have a drink, which I spilled my drink earlier, but every time that I'd get a follow on there, I'd be like, this cheers is to you. Thank you so much for the follow. And it feels a little weird not having the drink, but I did spill it earlier. This is the one that had a little bit of moisture on the inside. Let me grab another one. Okay, got a new top loader here. Get that Vileplume in there. Okay, that one's ready to go. So I have all of these cards. I'm just waiting. I have to go inside and get the envelope to ship it in. So when you use the standard envelope, you literally ship it in a normal envelope. So all of these cards are under 20 bucks. So that's how we have to ship those. We're going to re-sleeve this one because this one did not sell yet. Yeah, it is. It is a little weird. So part of the reason I guess I'm a little more smooth at it is I have been making YouTube videos for like 13 years. So when I say I'm new to it, I'm only new to the live portion. So I haven't always, for 13 years, I've done YouTube videos, and it's basically the same thing. So when you're making a YouTube video, I used to do pickup videos for video games. So I'd literally just sit down with my horde of stuff that I got that week, and I just show it to the camera and talk about it. So I've been talking to a camera for 13 years now. So it's just slightly different when you have people actually watching in real time. And thankfully you guys are actually commenting. Sometimes these lives can be pretty brutal because people aren't engaging. If the people aren't actually communicating with you, then there's either long stretches where you're just not saying anything, or you feel like you're just talking to the abyss, and then that's a little weird. But thankfully you guys have been actually engaging with me a little bit. It makes these lives run so much more smoothly. So thank you guys for doing that. Again, this is the only, I brought this card because we sold 2 of them and I wasn't sure which one sold. So we'll put that back with the inventory. But I think that's everything that I got today. We got everything shipped out. I just got to print all my labels now. So my work for now is done. The plan is to continue to go live as much as I can on here. Normally I do it when I'm shipping. But we have been doing a new thing, which I think is pretty cool. So I've mentioned this a couple times, but we have a video game shop. We don't own the physical building, and we don't really rent the building. Our buddy Adam at Hawk Coins and Collectibles, he allows us to have 2 cases in there, and we're eventually going to be moving to a bigger spot. But what I have been doing, or what I did this past week, is I actually went live from the shop. So when people come in, I'm buying, I'm selling, and I'm doing the listing there. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, that'll probably happen on like a Wednesday, Thursday, or a Friday. Maybe not Friday. Friday is my sourcing day. I really like to go sourcing on Fridays. But definitely check on like Wednesdays and Thursdays. There's a good chance I'm going to be going live from the coin shop. This last time that I went live, we had a guy bring in some t-shirts to sell us. We bought some comic books during that live. And the way we have it set up is basically like this, where I'm talking, so you can't really see the people. Just so they're not on camera. It makes it a little less awkward on their part. But I think it's still pretty cool to see the stuff that's coming in. Plus, sometimes I'm just doing normal eBay stuff, like listing stuff, taking pictures, researching. So if you guys are interested in that, please subscribe, follow, and then look for those in the future. We've done it once, and I thought it went pretty well, and we're going to continue to do those. I do pinstriping at car shows, and there's times I will have 75 to 100 people standing around me watching and talking to me. But the second they put a camera in my face, wow. Working under pressure, I don't know. You know, if I golf sometimes, and I don't like even when people are watching me golf, and that's normally like 3 or 4 people. I couldn't imagine 75 people watching me pinstripe a car. That seems pretty stressful. Well, Lamantria, check back in. Those lives will be titled something like Live from the Shop. So check back in. While we were doing it last time, I was actually taking the pictures of these Pokemon cards, and we started taking some pictures of some Star Wars figures. So, and like I said, I've got all kinds of stuff around me. I am not a very organized person when it comes to my workspace here, but we've got all kinds of stuff retro sitting around me. I've got toys, I've got figures, I've got CDs. We got all kinds of stuff. So thank you guys so much for hanging out today. I am going to get off here. I got to print those labels, and I still have to go into town to drop all this stuff off. So this has been Retro Rewinder. Thank you so much for hanging out. Like that video if you didn't do it already. Make sure you're subscribed. Follow me on all social media, because like I said, especially Instagram and Facebook, I post like pictures and engagement type stuff on there. So thank you guys so much for hanging out, and we will talk to you next time. If I can ever remember how to close out of here. There we go. See ya.